So I wanted to tell you guys, give you guys an update. My name is Amy, and I am an individual with systemic scleroderma. I've had it for about 17 years. Recently, I just had surgery on my feet. Some of my toes were curling in kind of like your hands do, kind of like this pinky here. And it makes it kind of difficult to walk and hard to wear, shoes and things like that. So I recently had surgery. They call them hammer toes is the medical term. So I had surgery on my right and left foot together, 3 toes on each to correct the hammer toes. After surgery, things seemed to be doing fairly well. My left foot was recovering fairly nicely. I'll show you guys some pictures at the end. And the stitches were in and everything like that, and the right foot seemed to be good, but a couple toes were gray, and that kind of made me nervous because, having lived with scleroderma for over 17 years, I kind of know what necrotic skin looks like. For those of you who don't know what necrotic skin looks like, people with scleroderma tend to get ulcerated sores or wounds on their extremities due to poor circulation. When they get these ulcerated sores, it's basically when you get a cut, it bleeds, it stops. Put some cream on it, put a band-aid on it, eventually it'll scab. The scab falls off. There's no sore there. People with scleroderma and who have circulation problems get a cut, and we don't clot correctly, I believe. And so we get a scab, but the scab can't properly fall off. So all that skin underneath starts to die. And in order for the good skin to get way and start to grow, we need to get all that dead skin off. And it just turns necrotic and it's dead and it can get gangrenous and infected. So my 2 toes on the right looked a little gray, which to me was a little scary because it kind of looked like they weren't getting proper circulation. But the doctor said, it should be all right just to keep them warm and things like that. So that's what I did. Um, and then we took some of the stitches out a week later, and they still looked kind of gray. And then I guess fast forward another week, and my right foot was swollen. It was sore. It was oozing. It was pussy. It was a mess. So they put me back on antibiotics. They told me to do these rinse things, um, to try to get some of the dead stuff off. And so, about 3 days into the antibiotics, I knew my foot wasn't really getting any better. It looked really infected. So, I had to go to the doctor to. Oh, I took pictures of it. I'm sorry. I took pictures of it, sent it to my foot surgeon, who is also my podiatrist. And they told me to go to the emergency room and that I needed to have IV antibiotics. So I made my way to the emergency room. They admitted me and they gave me 2 courses of this antibiotic, but it didn't really work. So then they gave me 2 courses of another antibiotic that was a little bit stronger that they normally give to people that have MRSA, but I didn't have MRSA. I was tested for it. It ended up being staph. I was in the hospital for, I don't know, I think it was like 3 days. 3 days, and they sent me home, and I had to get this really broad spectrum, very strong treatment of antibiotics at home. It was a one-time treatment, and then the antibiotics stay in your system for 2 weeks. So I did that. It was very painful. It was super painful to walk on, and it just, it wasn't good. Like, to me, everything looked dead. It looked like a regular ulcerated sore that those of you who have scleroderma know what that looks like. It was black, it was nasty looking. So after the antibiotics, I kind of bummed around the house, had to keep it elevated, had to keep it dry. Um, I saw the infectious disease doctor that I saw in the hospital 2 weeks after that. He said that the infection was gone and that I kind of just need to work on getting all of the dead skin off. So basically, for those of you who don't know, what people with scleroderma do to get the dead skin off, well, what I do is we keep it very dry because wetness is a breeding ground for bacteria and infection. So you want to keep it as dry as possible. I use Benadine swabs to keep it as clean as possible. What it is like a little swab that has like Benadine on it, which is like that stuff, it's brown stuff that they kind of prep your skin for when you're going to have surgery. And you just swipe over the wounds, and then it dries really quickly like alcohol, like rubbing alcohol. So that keeps them clean and doesn't let them get too moist. And then eventually the skin will get so dry it'll start to crack like a scab. And then some of that stuff you'll be able to kind of debride, which is like kind of peel off with like a tweezer and get down to that good pink fleshy skin that everybody loves. So I talked to my specialist in Pittsburgh because I went there 2 weeks ago, and she says probably gonna take about 6 months for it to all come off and be completely healed, which is a bummer because I couldn't even get a shoe or a sock on until about a week ago. So I'm very glad that I can get a sock on, and I have to wear Crocs, which are not very fashionable. I look like a grandma, but hey, it is what it is. So I'll give you kind of a little overview of what they look like. Now, I want to warn you, hang on, I want to warn you, the yellow and brown stuff that is on it is the Benadine, so don't get freaked out. And they're not really that nice to look at. So I will show you the left foot first, which is almost completely here. There's just a little scab on the second toe, and then I will show you the foot that got infected. Okie dokie. So if you don't like graphic pictures, I would just skip this part. Okay, so this is the right foot, or I'm sorry, the left foot. Looks pretty good, right? You can kind of see a little bit of scars on the third and fourth toe. See that? And that's all that's left is that little scab. Now see the yellow part and the red part? That's just Benadine. So don't get nervous. And now this is the right foot. Now that little gauze pad is to keep those toes separated. So, because what happened was they were sticking together because all of that infectious fluid was kind of draining in between. So as you can see, there's some dead necrotic stuff that's got to go away, but it doesn't look too bad. It looked a lot worse. All the skin on the bottom, like on this part of the foot, was all swollen and red, and like it looked like I had a softball underneath. So here's both of them together. You can kind of tell that the right one is still a little bit of a tad swollen, but it's looking very good. It looks a lot better than what it did when I had the infection. So I guess the thoughts that are just going through my mind are, did I need to have the surgery? Should I have had both toes done at once? I guess I can't really go back and change anything, and it wasn't really the surgeon's fault. You know, when you have scleroderma, there's so many variables that can come into when you have surgery and the outcomes of the surgery, and every time you have a surgery, it's a risk. So I can't really blame anybody. I can't really blame myself. It just is what it is, and hopefully the next couple months will be a healing process for my feet, and I can get back to my life, which is advocating and spreading awareness to you guys, and just work, being a leader and a support group leader, and um, a mouthpiece for this disease. So I just wanted to check in with everybody and let you know I'm doing all right. Hanging in there, and yeah. So if you like the video, if you have any questions, any comments, just like it, share it, ask me some questions. I'd be more than happy to answer it. Um, and yeah, so I will see you guys later. This is Amy signing off. Have a great day, everybody, and talk to you soon.